Hey, everybody. Grant Miller here.
We're back.
Miami Communities, we're back live. We had a little problem with our internet.
Jeez, you killed my eardrum.
And today we have Seabass, the smart one of the two, and Andy Korge. This is the Andy Korge Show, but I'm hosted by me. We've got a lot of things to talk about. And the big issue we're going to talk about, changing hats. Who's going to be the turkey on the county commission?
You got it on sideways.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Who's going to be the turkey on the county commission not to vote for?
The civilian review panel? Yeah, on Tuesday, the commission, on first reading, Barbara Jordan sponsored an ordinance that would establish a civilian review panel on the county to review complaints against police officers. A great move. It's what we need. Broward County is offering a similar ordinance.
And how was it voted there?
It was unanimous in
Broward,
Broward County.
but not in Dade County.
In Dade County, it passed by 9-4. If they get less than 9 votes on a second reading, then the mayor would have the ability to veto it. So Commissioner Jordan was telling us in the man cave today.
She called in.
She called in today in the man cave and was telling us that she hopes to retain the 9 votes to avoid what could possibly be a veto. A similar ordinance was proposed by her in 2018, and Mayor Jimenez vetoed that ordinance that passed by a 7-5 vote then in 2018.
Yeah, and one of the things that she also explained to us too was the legitimate powers that this review board is going to have. She compared it to the review board in New York City that I believe also has a similar system that their panel can subpoena. And they have the power to actually call in witnesses, subpoena documents from the police department. It's an extremely useful tool when they're trying to get to the bottom of some of these cases that might have been slightly brushed under the rug, or there might have been something nefarious done at the time. But at the end of the day, I was saying this before we got cut off, but we need to, as a community, hold the review board accountable. You know, even though Barbara Jordan explicitly said that they're going to get the best people for the job to sit on this.
Former judges and things
right, yeah, former judges, representatives from the police. You know, you want to have a diverse panel. You don't want to, like you said.
Former police officers.
Yeah, but like you said, Grant, also racially, morally, how across all lines, you want to have a diverse panel. And regardless of who you put on there, we still, as a community, are going to have to hold them accountable and make sure that the things that they're approving, the things that they're disapproving of, are in line with what we want out of that board. Or else it's going to get out of hand and it's going to become just another government, entity that doesn't do the job that it's set out to do.
It's like the grand jury. Other than the state attorney can do something, this is like the grand jury saying, yes, there's a problem. But it has to have some teeth. Now, Barbara Jordan said there's subpoena powers.
Subpoena powers, they have the power to call witnesses. But the big thing with this, Grant, is that it's going to hopefully reestablish trust that officers that do wrong will be reviewed by someone not within the police department. There's not a trust factor that officers that do wrongdoing are actually punished the way they should. And we've seen that in the case of, let's say, Officer Menekal in Hialeah is a prime example of that. Went years and years abusing women on the street, as far as bringing women into the police station in Hialeah and accused, and I want to say accused at this point, of sexually assaulting them in the police station. So there needs to be a certain level of trust in police, and I think an outside entity such as this civilian review board will provide that, maybe that trust factor.
You know, we have an ethics committee, a board to overlook elected officials with no teeth. So if this is my hair okay now?
Man, it's bad.
It's so much worse.
Why
would you do that?
It is just horrific.
Put on a hot dog or a pizza or whatever you got down there.
You need to come and see the blonde barber. Get her to cut your hair.
Oh, yeah, man. I think she could do you a lot of
we'll do
good.
the Mad Hatter.
The Mad Hatter.
The Mad Hatter? You do know that's Cat in the Hat, right?
Oh, okay. Okay.
This guy just called himself the Mad Hatter.
Okay, that's made up. Okay,
I know.
This is really, it's a great situation. We had it years ago. It fell through. It has to be always working. We can't just say, okay, we fixed this year. It has to be maintained because we've had riots, we've had problems, we have racial problems.
And we're going to have riots and problems and racial problems moving forward. That's almost guaranteed. We can't expect that one thing is going to make that go away.
But, part of the issues of this is cops are profiling. is it racial or is it profiling? If I went into an airport and I saw somebody from the Mideast, if I saw you in the airport with long hair, what would I think?
And a turban on, maybe you'd probably think something.
Yeah, so
You'd racially profile them.
Is it racially profiled?
Yes, that would be the pure definition of racial profiling.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
So
And listen, let's be honest. You know there's a systematic problem. It's as simple as this. You know every police officer out there knows they're being videotaped.
Correct.
Yet they continue to do these things.
you're absolutely that's why they started those things.
Right. But
Well, no,
if
he's
they've
talking
nothing,
about even like being recorded in the sense of there's security cameras everywhere. Everybody has a cell phone.
They have
not
their
just,
own-
not
they-
just body cam.
right, and they have the body cams, cameras on their police. They know they're being videotaped.
Surveyed,
just
yeah.
with the surveillance on the police cars and on body cams and all that.
Right.
Yet this continues to happen. So that should tell you this is a systematic problem
So
in and of itself.
we're into Turkey.
You are a turkey.
Okay, but there's no question. You're right. Every corner. Now everybody has cameras on their buildings. Everybody
Yeah.
has cameras on their cars.
Hey, everybody has cameras on their doorbells now.
Right. So and they still abuse the system.
And they still do that, which means that it's inherent. It's inside of some of these officers. And again, I'm not trying to
Right.
cast
Thank
aspersion
you.
on every police officer because I don't believe that.
Also recognize that if it was happening at an even more ridiculous rate when it comes to proportions, that mass number of video cameras that we have out there would be capturing even more obscene scenes, and you would see even crazier things. You know, there's a slow drip of these kind of coming out that make their rounds throughout the internet, that get popular videos of cops being aggressive and whatnot. With the amount of pictures, cameras that we have, you'd see that, every other day. It seems like it kind of goes
In cycles.
in waves. Yeah. in
And-
cycles.
and can I hijack this show?
You're
Just for a
going
second?
because it's the Andy Korge
It's
show.
your show, bro.
I want to hijack it because it sort of plays onto this. I was appalled by what happened with the SWAT team in Hallandale Beach and how they resigned. 10 officers resigned from SWAT
Their
duty.
high-paying job.
Yeah, their high-paying $1,560 a year job, and that's $1,560,
$30 a week.
$30 a week. They all quit. All 10 officers of the SWAT team quit.
Not all. Is that the whole squad team?
It was the whole squad team, 10, because their police chief, a woman, a Hispanic woman, knelt with protesters in Hallandale Beach, knelt with those protesters.
And it was a small group of. I looked
25 protesters. They quit the policing, and it was such a.
Wait. They didn't quit policing.
They quit the SWAT team.
Right, okay.
Kept their job as police officers. If they felt so taken back by it and felt so offended and betrayed by it, then they should have resigned as police officers. Find a whole nother job. But it exemplifies what the problem is people have that much tolerance for other people expressing their opinions about things.
I read something. If you say you're not racist, you're racist.
That's a great point.
And if I'm not racist, well, why you say that? Right, Aaron? Well, Aaron's our producer. I know he looks like Jesus Christ. But,
You say that every time.
I know.
Man.
But he does.
Get some new material.
okay. Okay. So, but let's draw back. We're talking about Hallandale. We went from Nashville to Hallandale. Let's get Miami.
But here, Hallandale police officers don't get it. And people in America don't get it. I am not offended by anyone kneeling. I'm not offended by anyone burning a flag. You know why I'm not? Because that's our right as Americans to protest in a lawful way. I'm not burning any flag. And quite frankly, I'm not kneeling. But I respect people's rights to lawfully protest anything they feel is an injustice.
That's like, I find it ridiculous when people say that's just not the right way to protest.
So what's the right way?
No. It's a protest. That's the point. The point is you're doing something out of usual. You're doing something, you're protesting something that's like the impetus of a protest. There's no other way to do it. As long if you can brush off it by saying, "Oh, that's the wrong way to do it. That's the wrong way to do it." But they were saying that about the Million Man March in Washington. You know what I mean? They were saying that about many, many movements in the past that we now see as extremely virtuous and were absolutely in the right and were necessary at that time. But if you go back in time, you see that they were being described as the wrong way to protest. That's like the hippies. That's not the right way to protest. It's just there's never a right way. And if you keep doing that, you're just defecting or trying to deflect. Sorry, you're deflecting from what the actual issue is.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Grant. I have a friend who's a Cuban American, and we got into a conversation the other day about kneeling.
About 400,000.
I'm sorry?
Cuban Americans?
Yes.
500,000.
Okay.
Friends.
But yeah, something like that. But he was a Cuban American, and we had a conversation about kneeling. And he was upset because his son expressed to him his desire during the NFL games this year to kneel with the players that will be kneeling. It's obviously.
Does he play in the NFL?
No, he doesn't.
Oh, that's funny.
But he because a lot of people are saying during games they're going to kneel, whether they're at a bar, at home, in the stadium, etc. And he was appalled by it and said, this is going to cause a major conflict with my son. And I said, why is that? And he said, well, I don't think it's right to kneel for the national anthem. Let me finish. So I said to him, you're Cuban. Why did you come here? Why did your parents bring you here from Cuba? Well, because there was communism there and there was no free speech. I said, stop. Stop right there. Your parents came here so your son would have the right to kneel if he felt that that was the right thing to do to protest in whatever issue. They came here so you could express your opinion in a free society.
But what do you? So I don't have a problem kneeling. I have a problem with burning the flag. As I told you in 7th grade, that issue I had. I'll say it again. 7th grade. That was 1970. There were riots. Vietnam was just over. And some kid in my class, my math class, Palmetto Middle, junior high, bottom floor, corner room. Not that I don't remember every class. He didn't stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and the teacher had a fit. I said, excuse me, he has the right. So I got suspended for back talking the teacher. The kid was okay. But the point of it is, I don't have a problem with it. I think you're right. And we should respect it. I'm born here, and people that come from a foreign country should really respect it and say, this is what it's about. But because this Cuban American, he loves this country so much, he's insulted by it. So, I don't get insulted. With Kaepernick taking the knee, I thought it was great. And guess what? If we all would have done that then, what would have happened?
Well, here's the thing. It's going to happen now. And
Right.
that's the reality that I hope people face. Like back in, I forgot the year, it was 2016, maybe 2017 when Kaepernick first kneed. Everybody kind of jumped on the bandwagon of, it's disrespecting the flag, and the NFL was already in season, so they had their sponsors all in a fit and whatnot, and that led to kind of everyone brushing it to the side and not addressing it. Now you cannot do that. You're going to see 10 times the amount of players kneeling. You're going to see coaches kneeling. You're going to see it's not going to be something you can look away from, something that you can shy your eye away from this coming season.
Well, certainly Roger Goodell is it now. All of a sudden, the biggest hypocrite in America, Roger Goodell, now is all on board with kneeling, right?
Yeah.
Surprise.
Kneeling and Kaepernick. He said,
Right.
I think every team should consider calling Kaepernick to be on their team.
He hadn't played in 4 years, I think, 3 or 4 years. Right?
Yeah.
So let's get to our cops in Miami. We had all these protests, and I think the city of Miami did a great job. The police chief got heat from something he said 10, 15 years. I think the police did a good job. We had no problems, right?
No, they did a good job here.
And the Dade County Police. So why?
As opposed to Fort Lauderdale, where you saw a police officer body slamming a woman
So
who had 7, and the police officer had 70 offenses, 70 claims against him for excessive force.
It looked like a WWE move.
Yes.
That was done in the street.
Yes.
So why Miami-Dade, Metro, and City of Miami have no problems? Is it good administration?
Well, I'll tell you one thing the city of Miami does, which I love. And that was they developed what's known as these net offices,
Right.
which are sort of neighborhood policing.
Right.
I think if you want to develop more of a bond between police officers and the public, have neighborhood policing is a great thing.
Yeah, but they have an office. But what they really need to do more, small towns have it. They should stop rotating the cops and say, this is your district. There are 3 cops per district. 8-hour shifts. And they need to know every neighbor. Oh, Chris Korge, somebody's driving your car. Oh, Chris, by the way, your door's unlocked. So cops need to know. The neighbors need to go door to door.
I'm not sure how that works in Miami exactly, but my impression, we interviewed on the Man Cave on 1210 The Man last week, Freddie Cruz, a spokesperson for City of Miami Police, and he communicated to us that that sort of neighborhood policing is going on in the city of Miami. Now, to what...
And being encouraged.
And being encouraged. But to what extent, I'm not sure.
Doesn't matter. If it hasn't really started, they're moving toward that direction.
I think, that's how policing originally was done.
Right.
It's not really if they haven't started. It's really about going back to
Mayberry? What was his name? In Mayberry?
You just said a name.
Andy Griffith.
There he is.
Yes, Andy Griffith.
And who was the son? The kid in the movie?
Opie.
They didn't even have color on that
Opie.
show. Stop talking, guys. We're on the internet. We're doing Facebook Live. Let's get
No,
updated.
but saying that was
But yeah,
Mayberry
but that
Topping.
exactly. That's
Yes.
the kind of stuff that we can try and go
Ron
back
Howard.
to, especially in communities of color where an officer being familiar with everybody in that community will help gain the trust of that community, which has been broken so many times and has been broken down for so long that they have zero trust in the police officers. I don't know if you guys have seen recently. It's a video that went viral a little bit on the internet of a young African American boy just shooting baskets in his driveway, and you see him stop and look down the street and then walks up to the back of his car and kind of like hides straight up with the truck, the back of a truck, and hides himself from street view and then out of the shot you see a cop car drive down the street and drive away, and when he like kind of peeks, sees that it's down the street, and then continues playing basketball.
Well,
That just shows the level of fear that child
at a little age.
has at a young age when he's just shooting baskets in his front yard, at his house.
Well,
that's unacceptable.
Let's use South Miami because our office is here. We've been here forever. The problems they have in South Miami, in what we'd call the inner city or Lee Park area, the poor area,
The creek.
right, is it's not South Miami people. It's outsiders coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Because South Miami residents all know each other, and the police are really good within South Miami. So, but when an outsider comes in, everything changes. When I say an outsider, they don't live here, they're coming through, they're causing problems, looking for trouble. So, I think local policing is the key, and I think every city needs to work on that.
Absolutely. And South Miami is actually unique in the sense that they're a small town that has their own police department, which helps encourage that local policing, that community policing that we're talking about. And I think moving forward, if you can, set up those smaller divisions of police departments like to cover these neighborhoods, and Miami is growing every day. You know what I mean? You're gonna need more supervision when it comes to police enforcement, and I think if you take that model that the South Miami Police Department has, and then other municipalities also around South Florida have, that moving forward, you can create more inclusive systems that'll lead to better policing rather than just creating excess aggression and using sheer force to intimidate people into listening to the law.
You know what? If I could, the one good thing that has come out of this, one good thing that I see, which is, and I see it on my show because I'm sitting next to a 22-year-old, newly 22-year-old.
I'm barely 22.
But I'm seeing it with Johnny, who just graduated from UCF. I'm seeing it with Sosa, our board op,
Gabe Sosa,
who's finishing his last year of college at the University of Florida. I'm seeing it with young people. They are getting more and more engaged.
They're not engaged until they vote.
He's not so young anymore, but also AC in the afternoon.
AC, 28 years old.
Yeah.
They are getting engaged. And I think it is going to translate to what you're saying, which is understanding the importance of voting going into August here in Miami-Dade County, August 18th, and then, of course, November 3rd for the general election.
Now we're talking about police, something important. There used to be a big, Dade County had it, and it kind of faded out, called the PAL, Police Athletic League.
Yeah, I remember
funded
that.
by the police department.
Yes.
By, I don't know what kind of money, drug money that they collected, or whatever.
And they had sports programs,
sports.
and it was the sort of the community getting together with police.
Right, and exactly. So let's just say Dade County, Jim DiBernardo was involved with it for years. So they take over a program. They bring kids that couldn't afford the league. They pay for the kids. They be coaching in the league. So all of a sudden, there's the police officers coaching the kids so they open a better relationship. I don't know exactly what happened. Miami Beach has a big pal. South Miami has a little one. But I think that's start with the young. You can't change the older kids, but you can start with the young ones, not to fear, like you said, a cop going by.
You know, two things that does. One, it humanizes the police officer to the public. And two, it maybe, changes the police outlook of certain communities, most notably the black community.
Yeah.
You know, it changes their look in terms of how they perceive that community, which is a big problem as well.
Yeah, there was Arthur Wellians. His nickname was Big O, not because his name was Arthur Wellians. It's just he was a big boy, and 6'3", 300. Well, he said 300. So
we'll get the scale out, right?
Get the scale out. But he would coach a team, one of the teams. He coached the Gray Ghost, and he would have 3 or 4 cops coaching with him. And some were undercover. They'd come out with their guns. They pull up the car, and it was like they were heroes.
Right.
Those cops were heroes. In other areas, the cops are not, like you said. But they became heroes because they're coaching the kids, the parents.
They're getting involved.
They're getting involved, and I think we need to go back to the basics and get the cops involved with our youth. And it doesn't have to be sports. It could be music. It could be anything. And we need to get them back. Seabass.
And I say this on our show often, and not to go into a deep diatribe, but I think also one of the things and one of the mindsets that people need to have when it comes to this whole policing issue and many issues facing society in general in the modern era is you can't look at it through one lens. You know what I mean? Like, we can't only think that we're going to solve the policing issue just by addressing police statutes, putting different rules on them, defunding them, funding them, whatever the case may be. You have to also take into account, education. You know, why are these African American communities constantly in a position where they are forced to, look at a life of crime or selling drugs or whatever the case may be as their only option? Why are there young women in the African American community having children at 14, 15, 16 and not being able to ever take care of that child? And then that child growing up in...
Because the system's broken.
Right. And I think that things like education...
Very important.
The education system, the way that you distribute funds to lower income schools, because I say it on our show, I went to Coral Reef Senior High School, and I can tell you for a fact that I have both my parents teach at South Miami Senior High, which was down the street from my house, and they both didn't want me to attend that school. They said, nope, we'll send you out to Coral Reef on 152nd, and you can go there. And I also know that it's the experience that I got at Coral Reef was very different from the experience they get at Jackson Senior High. And those are all Miami-Dade County public high schools, but you just get a different experience, and that's not fair. Coral Reef is right next to Richmond Heights, and none of those kids could get into that school. You're not allowed to get into Coral Reef just because you live in the area. You have to be accepted into the school.
The reason they did the magnet programs back then
Absolutely,
is to integrate the community.
But let's do magnet programs at Jackson.
They do have one.
Absolutely, they do, but they're not on the same level.
That's correct. And I think I say the system's broken, but the education system's broken. We need to pay top teachers to go to the inner city, whether it's a black community, a Hispanic community. Charlie Hadley Elementary, that's in north side of Liberty City. They should be paying those teachers more money. So the better teacher who wants to make double, they should be going there. Right now, maybe the teachers aren't good there, or wherever the school is. We need top teachers teaching better areas.
Well, I don't know what the answer to that problem is, but what Seabass over here says is absolutely accurate. It is a problem. There is inequities in the schools. If you look at the F schools in Miami-Dade County, almost all of them are in inner city areas, in the poor areas of the county. So, you could go down the line. You could look at, here's an example. And I mean, I know I'm reaching back in history, but look at the Vietnam War as an example. What percentage of our troops were black and what percentage of the population was black during that time? So, I mean, it's just there's a bunch of stuff, and it's like a snowball. It's been coming downhill for a long time, and that's what's causing where we are today with protests and riots. And I'm not justifying any riot or looting or anything like that. But it's not just one incident of a guy being killed unceremoniously by a police officer on a street in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's a a mounting of things that have gone on over many years. Tip of the iceberg.
You know, I'm going to change the subject for a second. The show before, somebody brought pizzas, hot dogs.
Yeah, look at this.
And burgers. Nothing for you.
Yeah, I know.
But we knew that was going to happen when you were on our show today, and you let us know that you had all these great guests coming in for Brett right before us, and then nothing for us.
Okay, so let's get back.
And by the way, I got to give kudos to Brett Romberg. He ate, 2-foot-long hot dogs?
Yep, and 2 burgers.
And 2 burgers, and massive burgers.
And he also had some of those
Twisters
from Power Pizza.
Yeah. So, but, you know, the system's broken in a couple of ways. The education, as hard as we work, it's not where both your parents are teachers.
Yeah.
And they know it's broken.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean,
they work at a decent school. That school is not inner city.
It's not an F school.
No, it's actually more of a Hispanic school than it is an African American school. They have a lot of immigrant students that are freshly from Cuba that live in the South Miami area or live in the West Miami area.
Right.
They also get a few of the kids who live in West Miami, but in general, you know, like my mom is a home ec teacher, and her class is enormous because she has a kitchen that she can fully cook out of. She has another space where she serves food. If the football team has a game, she'll make pasta for the whole football team and they'll go eat there. And she needs a lot of space for her class. But because she has that space, she also has 60 desks, and they use those 60 desks. My mother alone teaches 60 to 40 kids a class.
And it's supposed to be 25, by the way.
And it's supposed to be 25 to 30. And they do that because she's in an elective. And there are certain kids that throughout the year take remedial courses or take classes to make up for something they missed the year prior. They finish it halfway through the year, and they just dump them into my mom's class.
That sounds like him, probably.
That was what Grant was, right.
But the issue you keep bringing back is that the education for everybody.
Right.
It's clear. Now, part of the story is if you had kids that lived in Liberty City, who went to school in Pinecrest, and you had the kids that lived in Pinecrest went to Liberty City, who would still thrive? The Pinecrest kids, because their parents are supporting the issue.
Well, you know, here's the thing, though. If you look at LeBron James and the I Promise school
my God, it's unbelievable.
that he made, he took kids that were in the inner city, that were at low-funded public schools, gave them free tuition, and
college too.
I believe so. Yeah,
I think so too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all the kids that go through there get a college scholarship. But he gave them not only the tools within the school, like brand new Mac computers and iPads and everything like that, but also there were the teachers were motivated. The entire staff is engaged in one goal, and that is to get these kids an education like they've never gotten it before. And you saw their test scores go up 90+%. 90+. And those were kids that were in Ohio in some of the worst funded districts.
Yeah, just because they were getting educated better.
Just because they were getting educated better.
Period.
Were they because they get educated or because the teachers are excited?
The whole thing. It's not one factor. Like I said, again, it goes back to that same you have to attack it from multiple angles. He revamped the system. You know what I mean?
For his school.
For the I Promise school, right? They operate on a different scale. They can teach whatever they want. Like, I'm not sure the exact curriculum that they set up, but I can assume.
Wait, I couldn't hear that. What did you?
The curriculum.
No, before that.
I don't know the exact.
You said what?
I don't know.
That is unknown. You know everything.
Well, no, the curriculum that they do, that I'm not aware of, but I will say this: I bet they're not using Common Core, which is the worst thing to ever happen to the public school system.
You know, the UTDs is the union with the teachers, and I think they do a great job. I just don't think they have enough money. I don't think they have enough influence. I don't think that the school system, the superintendent, I think that he does not know the word we. He knows the word I. Ever listen to a speech? He says what?
Yeah, but you gotta admit, Carvalho has upgraded the school system to a great degree.
He's also upgraded his political status.
Yeah, but under Rudy Crew, the school system was a joke.
Okay, so the old saying in college football, never take over a team, a champion team, always take a losing team over.
Right, yes.
He is good, the superintendent. He is. But he took over a terrible program. Terrible program, and he has raised it. But I think we got to get back to And everybody knows the answer. It's not like it's secret here.
But let me just say one thing to exemplify
you
what
can talk as long as
to
you
exemplify what he just said.
We got 12 more minutes.
We got 12 minutes to exemplify what Seabass just said. Remember when the kids we decided they can't go in the classroom, COVID, right?
Right.
So we took them out of the classroom. What was one of the big problems? The kids in the inner city didn't have computers to be able to continue in schooling.
But the program was terrible.
No, but my point is they don't have the resources. They don't even have computers at home to be able to continue with schooling.
But they did get them.
Put it to you this way. I had a very real, I had a very profound realization when I was in high school, my junior year, and I started preparing for the SATs. And I know most people have already, and if you haven't seen, many states and many schools are dropping the SAT.
Well, California's school system is now dropping the SATs.
Harvard recently this week, I think, also came out and said that Harvard next year will not be including SAT or ACT scores in their acceptance, which is crazy. The two younger men in this room, Aaron and Josh,
senior at UM,
both gave me a look like, that's crazy. No way. Look it up. Harvard is doing that next year, and it's because it's not fair. The SAT is not fair. My dad paid thousands of dollars a month for me to go every week to SAT tutoring, where I learned the math portion and the written portion to a T. I learned how they were going to ask the questions, how to answer those questions.
So schools
didn't teach me that. No, the school didn't teach me that. I had to go to another private tutor, pay thousands of dollars, and have them teach me how to take the SAT. And I still didn't do that great.
Wait. His father's a public school teacher and spent $1,000. He must have some good coaches. He got coaches out. But
beyond that, those kids in the inner city don't get that.
Right.
At all. Ever.
But top it all, and I think next year or the year after, the school system will have it correct. The charter schools, every kid has a laptop they didn't have. The charter schools gave them. And guess what? At 8:15, you had to be sitting at your desk at home in uniform. Public schools, they didn't have Zoom. You're on your own.
They had Zoom.
No.
Public schools could use Zoom.
They could, but they didn't on this outbreak.
Yeah, my mom used Zoom all the time.
To her students?
Yeah.
All of them at one time?
Oh, yeah.
She's the exception.
Yeah, there's a lot of students. They allowed teachers to use whatever resources they wanted to. You could use Zoom. You could use Skype. There's other entities like Zoom.
But elementary school, they didn't do it.
It was very difficult to get elementary school
students.
But I think
they need to start practicing it because we need a better program for our schools. UTD is shorthanded, short money, and it's all money. We got a few more minutes. Let's talk about the Ron DeSantis thing. Ron DeSantis, I know you're listening. This Democrat...
Is he watching too?
He's watching. He's listening. Ron? Hey, Uncle Ron? I'm not his...
Uncle Ron.
He's your uncle?
No, he's not my uncle.
Oh, that's cool.
But listen, I think you're doing a great job. There's some hiccups. If you need a Democrat to run your campaign in Miami, I'm here. Talk about the thing he brought up. Go ahead, Seabass. This is your thing.
So
it's your show, Seabass.
I guess. What Grant is referring to, obviously, is the recent bill that was passed that allows NCAA athletes to make money off of their name, image, and likeness. It was very similar to a bill that was passed in California earlier this year that basically took the power of making money away from the NCAA and gave it to the students and the actual athletes that are putting in the work to earn those dollars. And I think it's a great move by Ron DeSantis.
What did you say? I couldn't hear that.
I said it's a great move by Ron DeSantis just because at the end of the day, this is where the future is going to. It'd be dumb. He'd be holding on to the past or trying to, impress the people at the NCAA if he weren't to approve this.
Now, you want to know what I don't like about his move?
What?
This move is politically driven. He's not doing this for any other reason because it's in his best interest politically.
Oh, welcome to the world.
Welcome
to the world, man.
What are you talking about?
Every decision
you liberals.
No, I'm not. It's not that I'm a liberal. It's true.
I think you believe Seattle's right over there.
No,
you know what? I think Obama only did Obamacare because of the political.
But I'm saying that I think it's a non sequitur. Really, these athletes, most of these athletes are not going to make any more money. And by the way, a lot of college athletes are paid right now by the colleges. Listen to 1210 the man cave on Monday as we have Blake James, athletic director from the University of Miami, coming on to talk about how they pay athletes for living expenses to live off campus, and they get all sorts of stipends of money now to play football.
Your favorite quarterback now is who?
My favorite quarterback right now in the NFL?
The quarterback.
Tua Tagovailoa.
Okay. If that thing was last year,
guys like that would be making lots
millions.
of money. Yes.
But
there's not many Tuas that are going to be making that money.
Yeah, you could probably get like
Trevor Lawrence or someone like that.
Chase Young last year could have probably made a lot of money. CeeDee Lamb, guys like that. And at the end of the day, it's not really about guys making the millions of dollars and signing huge endorsement deals with Nike. It's about guys who are maybe wanting to start a YouTube channel. Like, did you know NCAA players can't make money off of a YouTube channel or can't make money off of promotions on Instagram?
Yeah, but here's why I say this is all just politics. Because if they really cared about the athletes, they would not require them to have to be in college 3 years before they play in the NFL.
Well,
okay?
That's the NFL. That's not...
Well, that is a conspiracy between the NFL and the NCAA.
But at the end of the day...
Come on, and the NFL feeds the NCAA by telling athletes you cannot play in the NFL until you're 3 years out of high school. So if they cared about those players, really cared about them, they would give them the opportunity to go earlier to the NFL.
Like basketball.
Well, like basketball.
But there's a big difference between...
I don't disagree. I know where you're going.
The jump from high school basketball and the kids that qualify, that could actually make that move from high school to college, there's very few. Those guys were Kevin Garnett, LeBron, Kobe, like some of the best players that were ever in the NBA came out in high school. You don't see that very often. But
that is correct.
when you do, it's usually somebody who's an absolute anomaly, like LeBron, who was 6'8".
No, but come on, be honest. Every year now, there's a 19 or 20-year-old. Every year, how many Heat players? The kid we got last year from Kentucky, 1 year and out. He's 19 years old.
For sure.
You don't get that in the NFL, and I understand it's a different game, but
he also went and played for John Calipari for a year.
But whatever.
That's not whatever. The reason he was so prepared to be in the NBA system, and I hate to say it, is because he played under John Calipari.
But that's not. But that is not. That's not the discussion. The discussion is that they have the opportunity to do it in the NFL. If you're a football player, you are not given that opportunity. Plain and simple.
That's the only sport. Baseball, you can get drafted and play right away.
Exactly.
Yeah, but how many guys get drafted out of high school and then go to the majors?
5-6 years.
But that's not.
Spend 5-6 years in the minors.
No, right.
The game.
But that's not the point. It's about opportunity. They talk about we'll let you make some money.
Here's the other thing too. Realize that a 53-man roster, that's not a lot of guys. You need a lot of, like, any position that you have on your team. You can't have an 18-year-old kid that you're waiting 3 years for his body to develop in order for him to be even remotely close to hitting the field. When you're in an NFL team, every single roster spot matters, and every single player on that roster needs to be able to go right now. And that guy who you draft out of high school, who's coming in to be a wide receiver or a quarterback or a running back, is going to have to compete with 6 guys who have been maybe pros in the league for a few years, who are 24, 25 years old, who have been in NFL locker rooms and with NFL training staffs for 3 years on another team. They're all trying to make the team just as much as that guy. You're not putting those kids in an environment to succeed if you're taking them right from their high school where they were the best thing since sliced bread and then putting them in the NFL where they're literally nothing.
You talk about sports. We're moving on to the next thing.
Go ahead.
Okay. I have to circle
back.
I
disagree, but go ahead.
Okay, we're going to talk about 2 things for you. To circle back, I'm not promoting charter schools, any schools. I'm promoting good education. And our public school, as good as they are, has to step up even better.
Absolutely.
And they have to spend more money in the inner cities to get these problems. And we need to have cops on campus of the schools, not just sitting in the parking lot worrying about a terrorist.
That's a great point.
Yeah, we got cops sitting outside. Oh, you look like a terrorist. We can't let you in the parking lot. We need them in.
Yeah, but I think in support of the school system, I would say that these magnet programs have really, to a certain degree, stepped up schooling in public schools and learning. Now, the problem, again, not to be redundant, the problem is the resources just aren't allocated the same in the inner city as they are in the richer suburb schools.
And the reason the suburbs, the parents chip in and hire another security guard. They raise money. It's not fair to an inner city teacher that they have to pay for their own pencils, pens, for the equipment for these students. We have to step up and part of the education, and that will take some of the care of the injustice. Because if cops are involved, the local cop that you just talked about is in that school with the elementary. Forget the high school; it's too late. but the elementary. Okay, next things.
But you know what's great? Look, we have a 22-year-old kid here. No offense.
He's 22. He's 40.
I'm barely
Okay,
22.
but we have a barely 22-year-old that's involved in this process. Again, this is all good. What's happened? Younger people are feeling like they should be involved in the process.
Correct. All right, next question.
Yes, I got it correct from Grant Miller.
Absolutely, sir.
Absolutely correct.
Okay, I got a text from the school, somebody in the education. Earlier this year, it was reported that U.S. Department of Education lost more than $1 billion on charter schools waste and fraud. Interesting. I don't know if that's true or not, but somebody texted me that. Okay, next thing.
Yeah, I mean, the charter schools are just horrible schools, right?
I hear people praise them.
Exactly. Every time the conversation infuriates me. People in the public schools, they throw dirt on the charter schools all the time. And everyone I know that has sent a kid to a charter school has nothing but rave reviews about it.
Okay, question. We have 2 minutes. If the election was today, hold on, who's reaching you? Got a lot of people.
Get off my phone.
I was going to say who's watching. If the election was today.
I don't know.
If the election was today, who would win as president?
Well, as you know, I'm a Democrat.
Really? I couldn't tell.
But looking at the disapproval rating of the protests of our current president, whatever his name might be, I try to forget it. But looking at Donald Trump's approval rating in terms of how he's handled COVID and how he's handled the protests, I mean, the protests, 2/3 of America disapprove with the job he's doing handling these protests.
Okay.
I cannot imagine him getting reelected, but I may be wrong.
Well, I'm curious.
So if it happened right now, I think Donald Trump would be reelected, only because I think the Democratic Party has a lot of there's still a lot to be done to get the communities and the groups that they need to come out and vote to beat that silent majority that Trump will absolutely get. It's the same silent majority that wasn't being counted on when they had Hillary destroying him in the polls. It's the silent majority that sits on their porch with a Bible in one hand and a shotgun in the other, and they don't tweet. They don't go on Facebook. They don't go on Instagram. You never hear from them. That's the silent majority that absolutely will go out to vote. And the majority that the Democratic Party needs to go out to vote are the minority groups, the disenfranchised groups that if you lose their vote, you're not losing it to Trump, you're losing it to nothingness. That's the problem.
Yeah,
so
but
they need a little more time. They need to establish Joe Biden as a legitimate candidate that can give these groups what they want and that he can actually deliver on some of the promises that he's going to be making on this campaign trail regarding the African American community, police reform, COVID, public health, whatever the case may be. He hasn't established himself enough for me to think that he's going to overtake Trump, and we don't even know who his VP is going to be yet. And it has to be an African American woman at this point.
I like Barbara Jordan. Let's pick the right person. Biden does not need an Afro American or a person of color.
But he's talked himself into that corner.
Right. You don't have to have that. You're going to get that anyway. Aaron, today was election. Who would win?
Who would win?
Yes.
Probably Donald Trump.
Oscar, if the election was today,
Based on the polls,
I don't care about the polls. What's your gut feeling?
Biden, he said.
What?
based
Biden.
on the polls, it's
All right. So it's interesting. We got.
I think what
It's
what
crazy.
Sebastian's talking about, I agree. I think that the minorities, women, African Americans, young people, I think they're incredibly motivated right now at this point in time to get out and vote, and I think that's going to turn the tide.
Well, we'll find out in 2 months, but it's interesting. I watch CNN, I watch Fox, I watch NBC, and it's so confusing because you know what to believe in anymore.
I thought you were just watching cartoons every day.
That's on Saturdays. All right. Seabass, closing remarks?
Thank you for having me, Grant. It's always a pleasure coming on here, doing Facebook Live in this beautiful studio that you've built out here at the community newspapers.
My brother built it out.
Oh, well,
I was against
shout out to Michael. It's always a great time. Thanks for feeding me. I was here earlier.
I told you.
Yeah,
yeah,
not
you told
me.
to
I
cover-
wasn't.
Because you're late every time. You were late last week. You're late now, and you missed the food. I already told him.
Yeah, I mean, my closing remarks are: can't you get David Arbetter to bring food for our show too?
Wait, no.
At least
I brought
David.
food yesterday for your show.
You did, and I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being part of the Man Cave as you are every Thursday. And tomorrow I have a divorce lawyer,
Who?
Gil Izquierdo.
Do you know him?
He's going to be Divorce lawyer. Look, divorce lawyer. He got scared. He was ready to
kept
run
his
off. He was ready to
Shivers
run
go down his
off.
spine.
You know, but I have him in tomorrow in the Man Cave talking a little bit about divorces. They've gone up tremendously during COVID. I also have Kristen Rosa Gonzalez coming into the Man Cave tomorrow for an hour to discuss, what's happening in South Florida and prepare people for the bottom line, noon to 1.
Why is it so interesting?
On Sunday on 1210 The Man.
Why is Sunday such an interesting conversation?
Well, it's interesting because she's going to have former Miami Beach Mayor Alex Dowd on.
Why are we smiling so much?
I'm not sure, but they're going to be
Find out on
talking.
the bottom line.
They're going to be talking about, believe it or not, taking the name of Abel Holtz off of the street in downtown Miami. Abel Holtz, a former banker, owner of Capital Bank, who went to jail for bribing officials, including the gentleman that's going to be on the bottom line with Kristen on Sunday, is they're going to be talking about taking his name. Why do we have convicted felons on street name streets after convicted felons in Miami? Why does that always happen? Why can't they wait until the guy dies, for God's sakes? Just wait till someone's dead and then name a street after him.
In the meantime, what are you going to name the street? That's the problem every time.
As I always say, it's a pleasure having. And by the way, it's not the Man Cave. It's called Korge's Cage.
Korge's Cage.
Korgekage.
God, you can spell.
You get in that cage, you can't get out. And if you get out, you are a Democrat, because this guy pushes the Democratic Party. And here at Community Newspapers, hold it, we got it. Hold on, Michael, come over here. Sebastian, please tell him what you said about this room.
Oh, that I was saying it's always a pleasure to come in and do a show in this very nicely built out studio.
No, you said me.
And he took credit for building it out.
What did I say?
He said, no, Michael built this.
Yeah, he gave you credit for it, Michael.
So, but
I appreciate it, but I
all right.
didn't. But Grant was an active part.
All right, can you come over here in front of the camera?
In front
All
of
right,
the
we're bend down a little bit.
Bend
Okay, there we go. Bend your knees. Hey.
Be careful when he says that to you, okay? That's all I got to say.
All right, hey, thank you for watching Community Newspaper.